Just up a little bit. Oh, that's good. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Blake Sloan here. Brand new week. Dave's out this week. Got Mr. Rick Robertson here with us. And awesome show. Tons of great stuff. The market is still crazy. Over 800 properties under contract again last week. And some interesting tunes coming across the overall industry from people, experts. And we'll talk about really what's going on here in our local market. If anyone missed last week's show, we'll dig in and talk about what's happening from a metric standpoint and what sales are doing. Sales are up big time still. Inventory is down, in a big way, over 60%. We'll dig into that. The 51st straight Corona and COVID edition, based on last year at this time, almost a full year ago, we did 2 weeks to slow the spread, and we're still operating this. But the good news is, from a real estate market standpoint, it's been absolutely crazy. And so one thing we'll talk about today is we're starting to get a few peeps in the marketplace from experts and really some economists in real estate, some big well-known influential people. And one guy will talk about some data he shared that just he thinks that there may be potential crash coming Q4 2021. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm going to share some of the data. It's interesting how he had some of the data. So you definitely want to listen in. He just talks about some of the forbearances and how that can really be a major problem. And there's different layers of forbearance that can really kind of add to this marketplace and affect pricing. So we'll talk about that. Also, interest rates on a huge jump again, week after week after week. Guess what? Another horrendous week last week for interest rates. We'll talk about what's happened there. One thing I've had on the list for the past 2 weeks this year, which is really kind of not getting as much attention as it probably should, is just the cost of construction materials up in a huge way. We talked about lumber futures up 50% almost at 49%. I'll share kind of what's happening there and how much that's affecting some of the costs, where some of the new builders can't literally get a property appraised for what they have in it from a cost standpoint. And so we'll talk about what that means for new inventory. But overall, the whole consensus, the market is still insane here. I think Myrtle Beach is one of the perfect storms. There's so many people are moving in from out of the area. They're moving in from, up north. And we'll really break in today too. Have all the data of where everyone on our website is coming from. It's interesting, so you can look in there. And we also have some amazing success stories. Our team's been crushing it, one of which is really cool. The industry's changed. Right now, we sold a house this past week to an amazing lady, 70 years old, and she never viewed the property. She only viewed it virtually. She's from New Jersey, bought it. The first time we met her was this past week at her closing at the walkthrough. And so the industry's changed. People in their 70s now buying homes virtually through technology. Just goes to show what's happening with COVID. And we'll talk about more of that in a few minutes.
All right. Thanks a lot, Blake. For you new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake really is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of it together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Yes, and that's one thing actually I had in my list here I forgot to talk about in the beginning and the intro. Right now, the market's so crazy. We're watching some people cost $30,000 and $40,000 for their clients. I gave you all an example in our success story last week, and I'll recap that for anyone that missed it. An agent had it listed. We got it sold for $40,000 more than the other agent had it listed for in a short period of time. And so why this matters and kind of what Rick was talking about there is the whole reason we do this show. And this was like a big deal before when we started this show 10 years ago, but now in the whole history of this and probably my career, it's more important than ever because of the stakes at hand and really the pace of the market. It's the craziest thing I've seen, since 2005, 2006. And this one's a little bit different, right? Before it's a lot more speculation. This time it's just pure buyer demand. And so here's the deal. the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose, period. Now, here's the problem, though. Everyone seems to make this mistake of thinking that all agents are the same. They're a commodity, and doesn't matter level of price range. We find a lot of the high-end sellers make the mistake the most. They think, well, so-and-so lives in my neighborhood, and they sold a couple of houses. They're the best option. But in reality, that person only sold 4 houses last year. And so when you want to know the truth, right, you got to break it down, because here's the problem. In selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what that does? Puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. If anything's handled incorrectly, AKA they drop the ball, that could be anything from the quality of the photos, the order of the photos, right? Who took the photos, and how it's really marketed as a whole online, but also, do they answer the phone when a buyer calls? That's a big test. And we secret shop a lot of people to kind of just say, hey, what's going on? And most agents just don't answer the phone. You leave voicemail, guess what? Don't even call you back. And so if buyers are trying to buy your house and your agent's not even answering the phone, how's that going to help you out? And obviously the buyer's going to move somewhere else. We also talked about how it goes online, because here's the deal. Web leads happen at 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. How long does it take your agent to respond to a web lead about your house, or do they even respond at all? And so the reality is it's impossible for one single agent to juggle all the balls in today's world with today's technology to really execute on all those 118 different variables. So what I did, and what got us featured in Forbes and Wall Street Journal, all those things to make it different, is we identified every single variable. That's how I know it's 118, and create a system that's proven repeatable, that creates maximum leverage at every single point. And we call that stacking the dominoes. So we create a small gap for our client at point 1, a small gap for our client at point 2, and you stack all those up. It creates a massive competitive advantage for the client on the back end. And we utilize people, aka a large team, and technology to make sure that we execute those with precision every single time. And so if you stack that up against the average agent, guess what? That's how you sell houses faster and for more money. The system I designed is called the Guaranteed Sold System. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods, and it works very, very, very well. But right now, those variables are really, really a big deal, because 1 or 2 missed things can cost you a lot of hard-earned equity. On the flip side, guess what? 100 plus variables on the buy side. They're usually the opposite variables. So your agent has to make sure to manage those proactively and handle those. We created the same exact type system there. It's called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. It gets priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation, both in purchase price as well as through the home inspection, all the way to closing. And I've said it before in the past, but it's important to remember right now, the average agent in our marketplace sells roughly 4 homes a year. There's not enough experience in that to understand the pace of what's going on, to understand what's happening. Maybe a nice and great person, which, is all good, but when you're dealing with your largest asset, the stakes are too high to just try that yourself, or just have someone who's not in and out with a full system that gets you a competitive advantage. If you want to know more, reach out, call myself, call my office, 843-808-SOLD.
Hey, if you were in the market to make the most money for your home, Sean Hannity here with some important advice. Now, look, I'm an active investor. I have bought and sold a lot of properties in hot, cold, moderate markets. And one of the lessons I have learned is this: hire the agent that knows how to create the most demand for your home. Now, if I needed to create demand in this market, no question, there's only one real estate agent I trust if I needed to sell my home. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, he services the entire Myrtle Beach area, attracts hundreds of buyers every week, and sells a home on average every 24 hours. Now, that helps you generate multiple offers and sell your home for the most money possible. Plus, it's like getting an immediate offer on your home, because if your home doesn't sell for the price and the deadline you agree to, you will have it bought for cash, and he offers flexible fees. Find out how much demand your home can command right now. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
Welcome back, everyone. Got some great market news right now. Crazy news. And also what Barbara said there right there, I actually just bought a property this past week. I get that question all the time. Does he actually buy properties? Yes, I got stuck. I bought one this past week. And so That's just something that does happen a lot, and so it is real. If anyone wants to know more about that, we're more than happy to tell you about that as well. It's right in Myrtle Beach around 63rd Avenue, and so that is something that we do. But here's the thing. I wanted to get into the real estate market for anyone that's missed it because it's super hot. One of the things we started doing since COVID started was looking at how many properties you go on pending real time, because here's the thing, real estate market, right? The numbers you see close really just shows you what happened 60 days ago or 45 days ago. And so if you're making decisions based on data that's 60 days old, you might not always make the best decision. And so we started tracking real time how many properties each week in every 7-day period go under contract. And we started sharing that with the show last year because I figured, hey, look, it may provide value. It's something in my office, we literally track it every morning in our morning huddle. We give how many went under contract last 7 days so we have a feel of the pulse, right? Like what's happening. And so during the pandemic, when it started almost a year ago, we had the lockdown, right? Lockdown sales went from 600 a week down to 300 a week. Then it bumped up to 400, then 500, then 600. And during the hottest times of the market last year, during June, July, it jumped up to 800 homes going under contract. And that's all properties, condos and houses under contract in every 7-day period, which is, wow, we were blown away. That was amazing. We couldn't believe it. And so went back down a little bit towards the fall, and this January and into now, right, all the way into March here, it's been phenomenal, unbelievable numbers. We've been over 800 for the past 4 weeks in a row, which is crazy. So this past 7 days, 844 properties went under contract, which is massive. What it means is we're having our summer market early, right? We're having that in the earlier times of the year. And I don't think it can be sustained that much longer in the short term because there's just not enough properties on the market. And so here's how much volume in the last 7 days went under contract. $232,114,987, which is amazing. 13 properties over $1 million under contract last 7 days, one of which is $5 million. And so there's just a lot of stuff right now, a lot of money that's pumping in from out of area. Really quick, anyone that hasn't been following or anybody that just wants to know real-time data right now, as of the second, what the numbers look like from last month for closed sales for resale homes. Last month, sales up 20.2%. Great news there. 494 homes sold, which is amazing. The one thing we're seeing too, price has been leveling out a little bit. Right now, median price up 18.1% last month, 272,750. Average sale price up 12%. That's what we've seen kind of level off just a little bit, but it's still very strong, right? 20% increase in sales, 12% increase in prices. That's very good for us here. That's being limited by appraisals, really, because that's a big challenge we have. We have one that we saw came in $27,000 short. And back to those variables earlier, I know I'm all over the place today, but those variables earlier, one thing that we do that the average agent does not do, or that if you go with some, cheap flat fee realtor, whatever it is, we're able to meet the appraiser. We're able to go with them to the property, and we justify to the appraiser, look, here's why we priced where we did. Here's the comps we use. Here's the upgrades that we have. And we spend time with them to help make sure we justify that price, to help add in your equity to make sure that your equity is protected. Because the last thing you want, you have it marketed, you get lucky, get a good buyer, and then all of a sudden they chop off $15,000 from the price because it doesn't appraise. And so that's one of the many variables that are important right now during this hot market. But if your agent doesn't know about the problem or how to really combat that, that's going to cost you a lot of money. And so that's one thing limiting price right now. It would be much higher if that wasn't kind of holding it, which I think is a good thing. Here's the key number, right? It's what you've been watching for months on end right now. Inventory down 62.8%, huge jump. Only 1.6 months of inventory. I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes. We talk about the national data and the math that the guy was using to really talk about potentially, a crash. I don't know if it's a crash, but more so of a slowdown of just how much inventory could come back, when it could come back, and things like that. So that's important right now. 1.6 months inventory. Here's one of the key numbers we've been watching too, is showings per listing, which is what we call buyer traffic. How many buyers are looking at properties right now this month versus same month last year? Right now, the buyer traffic's up 70.6%. And so that's the most shocking number for anyone that really hasn't been paying attention. If you look at the line graph, it basically is a line that's straight up based on how many each property is getting, just because buyers are in here pumping money from outside areas overall in general. So that's overall. Homes into condos. Sales last month, the condos have been huge, up 27.6%. Why is that happening right now? Well, guess what? Homes that used to be affordable for people are no longer affordable in certain price ranges. So what's happening, because we've experienced this firsthand, all of a sudden those buyers are now having to look at condos where that wasn't necessarily an option for them before. Now they're moving over to condos. And so right now, that's why you're seeing a huge spike in condo sales, up 27.6%. 8.6% last month alone, which is awesome. Into prices, average sale price for condos up 19% at $199,725. Also for median price up 14%, which is awesome. 160,000 overall. And months of supply, guess what? Massive drop in inventory. We're seeing this again across the board in homes, condos, of course, down 38.8% at 3 months of inventory. And so what is an overall, I guess, equal market? What's a safe market? The National Association of Realtors said 6 months of inventory is what's a healthy market. And so right now for condos, 3 months of inventory. And it's a hypothetical equation that says if there wasn't a single property listed, how long before the run rate would be at 0. And so for homes right now, it's only 1.6 months. And so it's a very, very high seller's market. When you hear seller's market, what that means is they have a huge advantage, right? The seller has advantage here because there's less homes than buyer demand. And so that's why if you're a home seller, you want to take advantage of that overall. One thing that is interesting to watch though, interest rates, right? Interest rates have been crazy the past few weeks. If you go back just 3 weeks ago, it was 2.83%. I track it on my sheet here of every week what the rates are. Last week, it was 3.12%. Right now, for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 3.27%. It's a huge jump we've seen the past few weeks. And so if you watch a lot of my mortgage people I follow and kind of are connected with, they've been freaking out just watching the carnage, they called it, in the bond market that's really leading this. And so 15-year fixed rate right now, 2.75%, a 30-year FHA loan, 2.88%, a jumbo loan, 3.49%, and a 5-year adjust rate mortgage, 2.42%. So historically, they're still very low, but you do want to watch the trends, right? The trend is showing rates are climbing, which means buyers cannot afford as much house. And if you're a home seller, that affects you because guess what? The same amount of buyers cannot qualify for your house as they may have been able to before. And so that does limit the pool of buyers. If you think about selling, definitely want to take into consideration how close we get to some type of peak. When our buyer is going to pull off, and make sure if you're looking at moving laterally, either up, down, downsizing. We do a lot of downsizing for clients that listen to this show. Make sure that you take advantage of rates while they're still low, because that is really the most mismanaged variable in the home buying process, interest rates. So what we're going to do, we'll take a quick break here. One quick break. We'll come back with our hot buyers alert. We have massive amounts of buyers. We'll talk about how many buyers we have right now in our pool, because we spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars every single month bringing in buyers from across the globe.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com, or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing.
Welcome back, everyone. Blake Sloan here, finishing up our show about real estate, everything real estate in Myrtle Beach. And we're going to get into the hot buyers alert. This is something that's super important. And Dave usually does this part, but I want to get into it because our team are working ridiculous amounts of buyers from all over the globe and the country, looking for homes anywhere between 150,000, 3.5 million. And we have a plethora of buyers right now. Real-time data from our back end. And like I said, I usually show Dave this. He reads it. Right now, 60,401 active buyers we have. And these are real people. This is not hits or views. These are actual people who have accounts with us. With the username, password, account, phone number, all that stuff. Right now, Greg Barker, he's from Ontario, Canada, been on the site 17 times already. Michael Pearson from Glenbury, Maryland. I got Bob Davis from Johnson City, Tennessee. I got Christine from Ackworth, Georgia. I got Timothy from Kannapolis, North Carolina, and Maria from Columbia, South Carolina. And so here's the thing. We have massive amounts of buyers. I share this every week because I get the question a lot of why should I use you versus anyone else? Why should I use you versus my friend is real estate? And the reason is, the number one reason is is I've been spending tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars driving traffic from all across the globe, really, to generate buyer leads for your house before you ever even pick up the phone to call me. And so the average agent, they wait till you call, put a sign in the yard, and then hope that someone else sells it. Here, we're proactive, and we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And how do we do that? Well, our business model is what gives us the huge advantage, where we have a team of buyer experts. We're at 18 buyers agents right now, 2 multiple listing partners. We have an inside sales team, an administrative team. And so because of that, we have a team of specialists, not some generalist who's trying to do everything, where if I was a single agent spending tens of thousands of dollars online driving buyer leads every month, I'd be out of business. But with a team, I can do that, and that gives you a competitive advantage because now you have 60,000 buyers that we can match a property up to instantly. If you want to see it real time behind the scenes, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. Then we come about a few more minutes. Really quick, I want to get into just 2 success stories, which is really cool. One of which is really just kind of showing you the reality of what type of world we're living in now, which I thought I would never see this. Trudy, she was one of Brandon's clients on our team from New Jersey, 70 years old. She bought her dream beach house she'd been dreaming for years, 100% virtually. Brandon did not meet her until the day of closing when they did their walkthrough, which is super cool. You know, years ago, you would think people struggle with technology, but the times are different, right? People in New Jersey are wanting to get out of there so badly, they get on the phone. Brandon went and streamed the properties for her, upload them to YouTube. She watched it. We have technology. We bought like GoPro cameras, and we have all this professional equipment that we have that we can be able to show buyers out of the country for you to get them down here or to make an offer, obviously, before they see it. So really quick, 2 success stories. Bob and Maxie were trying to move back to Virginia to be close to family. Unfortunately, they could not because their condo on the market sat for over 6 months with an average agent. They used an average agent. They were frustrated, not one single offer. Thankfully, Bob heard about us on this radio show, gave us a call immediately, knew that what we had was light years different what they'd seen before. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, had an offer almost full price within 1 single week. Now they can move back to Virginia, which is awesome. Tammy, she also had her house listed with a different agent before us. Decided she'd go back, basically decided to try us one more time on the market after being very, very frustrated. This is the one that I mentioned earlier. We came in, said, you can get way more for this property right now if you just do the strategy like we told her to. She didn't have to fix up anything. We launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, had 2 full price offers. One was $40,000 more than she had it previously listed for. $40,000. That's why this matters. That's why you calling me matters versus just calling the average agent who sells 4 homes a year, because we get the job done, and there's literally up to $40,000 at stake in doing so. So super important there as well. Really quick, I'm not sure how much time we got. Rick, how much time we got? About 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so I want to get to something that's very interesting really quick too. If you're a home builder out there, man, one thing we noticed this past week, my team meeting, is that how horrific and terrible that a lot of the builder marketing is because you have one agent trying to do it. Like, you need professional photos. In COVID times, you need technology like virtual reality walkthroughs that they can walk through your house virtually while they're still in New Jersey. And so if you're a home builder, if you know a home builder, you want to up-level your marketing and some of your future projects, call me. That's one thing that we had like a big meeting, like, dude, we got to help these people out, because a lot of it's just the old school, good old boy system with some agent who's only selling those type of houses, and they're just putting in MLS with their cell phone videos, cell phone photos, and it's not getting you right exposure. So if you want to know more about that, call me as well. Here's something I want to talk about really quick. This is something that's 2 important things. One, cost of lumber up 49%. That's a crazy thing to look at for lumber futures. And here's an example of someone shared some data with me. The average cost for lumber only to build a 2,000 square foot home in March 2020 was $18,000. Right now, for that same 2,000 square foot home, it's $59,000, which is crazy. And so that's something we're seeing with new construction. And so that's even creating more competition, right? Because some of the national home builders this past week announced that they're no longer doing custom builds. They're only doing spec homes. So they can't really adjust, and they're not losing so much money in the future costs. And so that's something we'll keep watching. I do think that puts more pressure on inventory for resale homes. And so again, you want to strike while the iron's hot. Here's one thing I wanted to just talk about. There's this guy, his name's Ken McElroy. He's a big real estate guru guy. He's actually part of Robert Kiyosaki's team that they kind of author books together. So he's well respected. And I knew this would happen eventually. It happened back in 2008, where all of a sudden you started getting these certain experts talking about potential crash. And really, they kind of forecasted that, and really enough until it happened. And so here's what he talks about from a data standpoint. There's some key numbers in this overall, but one of the key things that he talks about is really looking at inventory. And so he talks about what's driving the price, the crazy prices, is inventory. So in December this is nationally, right? December of 2018, there's 1.39 million homes for sale, right? Which is decent. That's a 3 months of supply. That's still pretty crazy. December 2020, though, only a million and 70,000 homes listed. So obviously about 300,000 less. And so that's 2 months of supply. So you can take that math and do the math. Now, obviously, there's these graphs here. It's hard to explain on the radio. But if you're driving, you're listening, that basically is showing that 1 month of supply is about 300,000 homes, right? So that's kind of something to look for. But here's the crazy part that's kind of the kicker. And this is something that just has been kind of like a behind the scenes thing that has not really been talked about as much. And that's something we have seen here from a client standpoint, is just really looking at people that have been in the deferment of their mortgages, right? They're kind of been doing this whole game of forbearance. And so there's this big company everyone trusts. It's called Black Knight Technology. They do all the bank data. They're very, very good. They're probably one of the best ones that we know of. We've used them in the past. They even do all the reimbursements for the foreclosure properties. But they had some new data that kind of, I guess, snuck under the radar. Number of properties that are 30 or more days past due or in foreclosure recently. This came out last month. 3.557 million properties month over month that are basically over 30 days. And his thought here is that, man, that's a lot of properties coming in potentially as the government has been kicking the can down the road, and that could affect pricing here coming forward. Again, this is early data looking at it, but you say, look, if you look at that and if you break down what these forbearance is, there's supposed to be 600,000 properties coming due payment-wise on 3/2021, which is March 2021 this month, and 400,000 properties coming due in April of this year. And so if half of those, right, 3.57, only half of those comes back to the market or goes to foreclosure or has to sell now, that's 1.75 million homes back on the market, right, which is really over doubling what the inventory is right now. And that is going to hurt your prices as a home seller. Now, that's just thought. I don't necessarily fully agree with it. I do look at it as being a possibility. And so it is something to keep in mind if you want to think about capping out interest rates going up. There is that secret kind of 3.557 million properties right now coming in that could be in forbearance that could hurt your value. So if you want to cash out, you've been thinking about selling, get an investment property, reach out to me and let's talk more about that, because that's just something to put on your radar. If you want to look more of that, you can check out too. Great site. It's the Federal Reserve of St. Louis. They have a lot of that data on there. We're coming to the end of the show. I just want to talk about too, the pace right now, super important, super fast. Do not try to touch this hot market by yourself. Want to know more about that? Reach out, call myself, call my team. We're here to serve you all day, every day. 843-808-SOLD. All right.
Selling your home doesn't have to be filled with drama or